A villain who is also a god? That already sounds impressive. But how impressive is it for everyday villains to elevate to god status? From average humans to the most inhuman, these villains all earned a sweet moment of godlike glory. Dr. Doom is always a villain that many people already put on a pedestal. So of course, it makes sense that he would eventually get powers to match his status. This all went down during the 2015 Secret Wars event when Dr. Doom was elevated to the status of not just Emperor, but God, becoming God Emperor Doom, after being the only person willing to challenge the Beyonders during the final moments of the incursion. When everything came crashing down, Doom took the power for himself and built a patchwork-like world out of all the alternate universes that had collided with one another. It was later revealed that to have absolute power and shape reality, he'd actually been using the powers of Molecule Man, who was kept hidden away. Eventually, in a battle against his rival Reed Richards, Doom lost these powers after admitting that Reed probably would have been able to do a better job at recreating the multiverse following the incursions, thereby causing Molecule Man to instead choose to bestow his power to Mr. Fantastic. Nanaue wasn't always known for being a demigod and prince. In the previous New Earth continuity, he is hinted at being the son of the king of all sharks, also known as the Shark God, although this was all kind of seen as a rumor in regards to his origin. Initially, it wasn't very concrete. He wouldn't become a god over time necessarily, but instead would have this origin more firmly established as being his true origin as time went on in the comics. In the Prime Earth continuity and the Harley Quinn animated series today, this is firmly cemented as King Shark's origins, making him a demigod. In fact, even in the newest Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League game, he's also a god. Like his father, Thane also has experience with wielding an insane amount of power. Initially though, Thane strove to simply be a healer in his everyday. He was eventually hunted down by Thanos, who was searching for his secret hidden son. Thane, being an Inhuman, didn't have powers yet when Ebony Maw first found him, but as a hybrid Inhuman and Eternal child, his powers were triggered and brought to the surface after undergoing Terrigenesis. This drastically changed his appearance and gave him an insta-kill power, where everyone within a certain, rather large radius of him would be killed simply by being near him, which is a pretty traumatizing thing to happen when you're like, I want to save people. Oh my gosh, my powers kill everyone. He could also encase people in amber. In fact, if you've heard of the story where Kitty Pryde helped Star-Lord save Spartax from the Brood after the entire planet was encased in amber, the person who had done the encasing, yeah, that was Thane. Thane would not only have insane power just from these abilities, but also would for a time have, get this, the Phoenix Force. Don't worry though, Thane would later lose the Phoenix Force after becoming trapped in the God Quarry, where he remains, or at least where he remains at the time of this recording, until I guess we remember him and pull him out of the God Quarry. There is a lot that Zod has done to sell himself as a god tier character. I feel like every time we see him, he's doing something even more extra than the last time. During the Prime Earth continuity, there's a point where Amanda Waller is lucky or unlucky enough perhaps to capture Zod to use him on her Task Force X, aka the Suicide Squad. However, even after having an explosive kryptonite device placed within his brain, Zod escapes Waller. Yeah, does his own brain surgery, basically. Tormented by the pain of his family who are currently trapped inside the Phantom Zone, he manages to remove the bomb from his head by himself using his heat vision to break free and go rescue his family. After doing so, he also seeks out a planet for them to settle on to turn into a sort of new Krypton. The indigenous people of this planet are actually willing to work for Zod as they believe him and his family to be gods. Madeline Pryor was kind of born a god when you think about it. She is a clone of Jean Grey, whose life was sparked by a piece of the Phoenix Force. The Phoenix Force itself is like a cosmic god of sorts. It's not like, I don't know if we call it a god like officially, but it's godlike in power. And because a piece of that is built into Maddie, in a way, Maddie is also like a god. If you're wondering how or why I'm including her here when she, as I've said, has always been a god, since this is the exact reason I'm not including villains like Loki on this list, so for all of you who are wondering why Loki isn't here, that's why I didn't include him, it has to do with the fact that she wasn't always aware of her true origin. During the time she wasn't aware, Maddie simply acted like a normal human woman. However, after suffering a mental break, Maddie was transformed into a after suffering a mental break when she realized the truth of her origin, Maddie was transformed into a supremely powerful being, allowing her to tap into her true, unlimited potential. Poison Ivy is a character who honestly should always be at a god tier, just based on her power set, honestly. But there's only really ever been one point that I can think of where she decided to take things to that kind of level. For the most part, Ivy stays pretty confined to Gotham, giving Batman and the city trouble with her eco-terror, but not really extending much beyond Gotham's reach. Now and then, I've seen her also go to some other cities, I've seen her go on a crime spree with Harley in Metropolis as well, but really she stays pretty confined to a single city with her mischief. However, in the Tom King story, Everyone Loves Ivy, trauma caused Ivy to strike out and go bigger, much bigger, taking over the whole world through vegetables. Yeah, she mind controlled people through the veggies that they ate, and she used her control over everyone to basically make the world a better place and bring about kind of world peace, but of course at the expense of free will, a big no-no in the hero books. Ivy, however, was convinced to relinquish control by Harley Quinn, who Batman and Catwoman basically recruited to help them deal with this situation, and ended up giving up her influence and her power at the end of the story as a result. Owen Reese was just a normal man before he received powers that made him a god, or at least put him on that level. He was a lab technician when one day, fixing an atomic device, he just poked a hole through the universe and into the multiverse, accidentally reaching across space and time into the universe of the Beyonders, and tapping into a massive amount of power there. This power would put him on an omnipotent and omniscient level, allowing him to rearrange the molecules of matter and even energy. He could even do that with organics, although for a long time there was a psionic barrier in place so that he wouldn't do that, because it's pretty messed up, even for a villain. Molecule Man can also warp reality on a massive galactic scale. It's really weird to think of this next villain as a god, but even he has earned that status before in the comics. I know, it's crazy. And strangely, it's actually happened more than once, sort of. The other version of the character who was imbued with god powers was from an alternate reality, admittedly, but even in the main continuity, Joker has gone god tier. In this case, it all went down when he managed to trick Superman fan and often mischievous antagonist, Mr. Mxyzptlk. Mr. Mxyz only intended to give Joker 0.01% of his power, but instead, he accidentally gave him 99.99%. Yeah, yikes. Needless to say, Joker most definitely did not use this power to do anything good. Eating China as though it were takeout, yeah, super weird and super scary, and tormenting Batman daily and killing him only to res him the next day so that he could do that all over again. It should surprise no one that of course there was a time when Thanos became an almost literal god. When and where was this? In an alternate future that ended up being erased, but where CGR, aka Cosmic Ghost Rider, still hails from, even though it doesn't exist. This was a future where Thanos had committed to winning over Death's Heart by destroying not just half of all life in the galaxy, but all life in the galaxy. He had eradicated life down to the point that only a few people remained, and eventually only he did. This King Thanos, who was a ruler of the universe, brought in his past self to eliminate him. However, this reality was erased when the younger Thanos refused to do his older self's bidding, and despite all his power, still saw King Thanos as being weak. Rude. Cersei went from being a very powerful witch to being a literal goddess. How did this happen? Well, in Justice League Dark, we learned of the Witch-Marked, powerful women who had pieces of Hecate's power hidden away within themselves. Diana Prince, aka Wonder Woman, is revealed to be one of these individuals as we discover, who they all are, or so we think, as it's later revealed that Cersei was also secretly one of Hecate's chosen Witch-Marked. She uses her attachment to Hecate to devise a plot to steal all the power from the other Witch-Marked and Hecate herself. Cersei actually succeeds in this, surprisingly, and so gains a godly amount of power, putting her on the level of the goddess of magic, Hecate herself. In fact, because there is no Hecate after that, she basically is the new Hecate. Pretty crazy. That's about it. I've been your host, Amanda, aka VampX13. Until next time, you stay nerdy, YouTube. Bye!